Gold is not merely a shining metal, it is a geological fingerprint of Earth's most violent movements. Some of the world's richest gold deposits formed not by chance, but at the exact moments when continents collided and the crust fractured under immense pressure. Why does gold concentrate along certain fault zones and mountain belts, while vast regions remain completely barren? This video reveals how Earth's tectonic forces control where gold is created, transported, and ultimately preserved. Plate tectonics as the primary driver of gold formation. Gold deposits are not randomly distributed across the Earth's surface. Their global pattern reflects the fundamental architecture of plate tectonics and the long-term evolution of the lithosphere. The majority of economically significant gold provinces are spatially and genetically linked to convergent plate boundaries, where crustal shortening, magmatism, metamorphism, and fluid circulation interact over geological timescales. Plate tectonics provides the physical framework that enables gold to be mobilized from deep sources, transported through the crust, and concentrated into mineable deposits. At convergent margins, the interaction between tectonic plates creates conditions that are uniquely favorable for gold formation. In subduction zones, an oceanic plate descends beneath a continental or oceanic plate, releasing volatiles and fluids as it undergoes progressive metamorphism. These fluids rise into the overlying mantle wedge and lower crust, promoting partial melting and arc magmatism. Gold, along with other metals, becomes incorporated into magmatic and hydrothermal systems, where it can later be redistributed and concentrated. Many major gold belts, including those associated with continental arcs, owe their origin to prolonged subduction-related processes. Orogenic belts formed during continental collision represent another critical tectonic environment for gold deposition. As continents converge, thickened crust experiences intense deformation, regional metamorphism, and widespread faulting. During this process, metamorphic reactions within the lower to middle crust liberate large volumes of aqueous, carbon dioxide, rich fluids capable of dissolving and transporting gold. These fluids migrate upward along deep-seated structures, driven by pressure gradients generated during orogenesis. The close association between orogenic gold deposits and ancient mountain belts highlights the central role of plate convergence in gold genesis. Transform and transpressional plate boundaries also contribute to gold mineralization by generating long-lived fault systems that act as conduits for fluid flow. While these settings may lack extensive magmatism, they provide highly permeable pathways through which deep-sourced fluids can ascend. Repeated episodes of fault reactivation enhance fluid circulation and create favorable conditions for gold precipitation. In many cases, gold deposits formed in such environments represent the cumulative result of multiple tectonic pulses rather than a single mineralizing event. In contrast, divergent plate boundaries and stable cratonic interiors generally play a limited role in primary gold formation. Mid-ocean ridges and rift systems are dominated by high-temperature magmatism and rapid crustal accretion, environments that are less conducive to the long-term fluid focusing required for significant gold accumulation. However, ancient rift-related structures may later be reactivated during compressional tectonics, transforming initially unfavorable settings into productive gold-hosting systems. This emphasizes that tectonic history, rather than present-day plate configuration, governs gold distribution. The temporal relationship between gold mineralization and tectonic evolution is equally important. Many of the world's largest gold deposits formed during discrete periods of heightened tectonic activity, particularly during major orogenic events in the Archean and Phanerozoic. These periods were characterized by enhanced heat flow, widespread deformation, and efficient fluid generation, all of which promoted large-scale gold transport. Once tectonic activity waned, mineralized systems were often preserved within stabilized crust, allowing them to survive subsequent erosion and uplift. Ultimately, plate tectonics controls gold formation by regulating the sources of fluids, the pathways of migration, and the structural traps where gold is deposited. Without the dynamic processes associated with plate interactions, subduction, collision, and deformation, gold would remain dispersed within the crust and mantle, never reaching concentrations sufficient for economic extraction. The global distribution of gold deposits is therefore a direct expression of Earth's tectonic engine operating over billions of years. Faults, shear zones, and fluid pathways. The concentration of gold within the Earth's crust is controlled not only by its source, but by the structural architecture that governs fluid movement. Faults and shear zones represent fundamental elements of this architecture. These structures form in response to tectonic stress and deformation, creating zones of enhanced permeability that allow deep-source fluids to migrate upward through the crust. Without such pathways, gold-bearing fluids would remain trapped at depth, preventing the formation of economically significant deposits. Fault systems develop across a wide range of crustal conditions, from brittle fracturing in the upper crust to ductile flow in deeper, hotter environments. In brittle regimes, faults create open fractures and breccias that provide direct conduits for fluid flow. In ductile regimes, shear zones accommodate deformation through crystallplastic mechanisms, producing foliated and myelinitic rocks with interconnected microstructures. Although mechanically different, both environments are capable of channeling fluids over large vertical distances, particularly when deformation is sustained over long periods. Shear zones are especially significant in the formation of orogenic gold deposits. These zones often extend for tens to hundreds of kilometers and penetrate deep into the crust, linking fluid sources in metamorphic domains with depositional sites at shallower levels. During orogenesis, metamorphic reactions release water and carbon dioxide, generating fluids capable of dissolving gold under high pressure and temperature conditions. Shear zones provide the structural continuity required for these fluids to ascend, guided by pressure gradients and tectonic pumping processes. The efficiency of fluid transport within faults and shear zones is strongly influenced by episodic deformation. Rather than flowing continuously, gold-bearing fluids typically move in pulses associated with seismic or semi-seismic events. During fault slip, sudden drops in pressure create transient permeability, allowing fluids to migrate rapidly. As stress rebuilds, fractures reseal through mineral precipitation, trapping gold within veins and alteration zones. Repeated cycles of fracturing, fluid flow, and sealing progressively enrich these structures in gold. Chemical conditions within fault-controlled fluid systems also play a critical role in gold deposition. Changes in pressure, temperature, redox state, and fluid composition can destabilize gold complexes, causing gold to precipitate from solution. In many cases, pressure reduction during fault dilation is the dominant trigger, particularly in mesothermal and orogenic systems. Interaction between fluids and reactive host rocks further enhances gold precipitation by modifying fluid chemistry and providing nucleation sites. Structural complexity increases the likelihood of gold accumulation. Bends in faults, fault intersections, and transitions between brittle and ductile deformation regimes create zones of localized dilation and fluid focusing. These sites act as natural traps where fluids slow, mix, or undergo rapid physicochemical changes. As a result, high-grade gold zones commonly occur at jogs, splays, and lithological contrasts within major fault systems rather than along uniformly developed structures. The longevity of faults and shear zones is another key factor in gold mineralization. Structures that are repeatedly reactivated over millions of years are far more likely to host significant gold deposits than those formed during a single deformation event. Each episode of reactivation provides an opportunity for renewed fluid flow and additional gold deposition. Many major gold camps are associated with crustal-scale fault systems that record long and complex deformation histories. In essence, faults and shear zones serve as the circulatory system of the crust, directing gold-bearing fluids from their deep sources to sites of deposition. They control not only where gold is deposited, but also the size, grade, and geometry of gold deposits. Understanding the structural controls on fluid pathways is therefore essential for both interpreting the geological history of gold formation and guiding successful mineral exploration. Tectonic evolution and gold preservation. The formation of a gold deposit represents only one stage in a much longer geological history. Equally important is the tectonic evolution that follows mineralization, which determines whether a gold deposit is preserved, modified, or destroyed. Many gold systems formed deep within the crust, yet are mined today at or near the surface. This apparent contradiction is resolved through long-term tectonic processes that uplift, expose, and sometimes redistribute mineralized rocks over hundreds of millions of years. Following initial gold deposition, tectonic regimes often shift from active deformation to relative stability. In such cases, mineralized zones may become locked within rigid crustal blocks, effectively protecting them from further deformation. Cratonic stabilization plays a crucial role in preserving ancient gold deposits, particularly those formed during Archean orogenic events. Once tectonic activity diminishes, these regions can retain their gold endowment despite extensive erosion and surface modification. However, tectonic reactivation is common throughout Earth's history. Pre-existing faults and shear zones are frequently reactivated during subsequent tectonic events, altering the geometry and distribution of gold mineralization. Reactivation can enhance a deposit by introducing new pulses of gold-bearing fluids, leading to overprinting and grade enrichment. In other cases, it may dismember or offset ore bodies, complicating their geometry and making exploration more challenging. The structural inheritance of a region thus exerts a powerful influence on both the size and continuity of gold deposits. Uplift and exhumation are essential processes in making deep-seated gold deposits accessible. Regional uplift, driven by crustal thickening, isostatic rebound, or mantle dynamics, brings mineralized rocks closer to the surface. As erosion removes overlying material, pressure and temperature conditions decrease, effectively freezing the mineral system in place. Without sufficient uplift and erosion, many gold deposits would remain buried and undiscovered, regardless of their original size or grade. As gold-bearing rocks approach the surface, they become subject to weathering and surface processes. Chemical and mechanical weathering can break down primary gold-hosting minerals, releasing free gold particles. These particles may be transported by gravity and water, accumulating in river channels, floodplains, and coastal environments to form secondary, or placer, deposits. The formation of placer gold is therefore not a separate phenomenon, but a direct consequence of tectonic uplift followed by prolonged erosion. The preservation of gold deposits is also influenced by the balance between erosion and tectonic stability. Excessive erosion can completely remove mineralized zones, dispersing gold into sediments and reducing the likelihood of discovering intact primary deposits. Conversely, insufficient erosion may leave deposits buried at depths that are technically or economically inaccessible. Optimal preservation occurs in regions where uplift and erosion proceed at moderate rates, allowing gold systems to be exposed without being destroyed. Tectonic setting further controls the long-term survival of gold deposits during continental assembly and breakup. During supercontinent cycles, gold-bearing terrains may be accreted, translated, or fragmented by large-scale plate motions. Some deposits are preserved within stable continental interiors, while others are caught in zones of renewed deformation, metamorphism, or magmatism. These processes can either preserve gold systems or reset them entirely, depending on the intensity and duration of tectonic activity. Ultimately, the present-day distribution of gold deposits reflects not only where gold formed, but where it survived. Tectonic evolution governs the exposure, modification, and preservation of gold mineralization across geological time. Understanding this evolutionary framework is essential for interpreting ancient gold systems and for predicting where undiscovered deposits may still be hidden within the Earth's crust.